as I mentioned earlier, Tom Brady made it official, not the 2 years, $60 million that was being reported the past few days, but he signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2 years, $50 million, all of it guaranteed. And then there's $9.5 million in incentives. So if he hits certain incentives, it could end up basically being $60 million, but only 50 of the $50 million guaranteed. Now, what's interesting about this, Rob, is that Ian Rappaport, great reporter for the NFL Network, he came out and he says, he has a really interesting tweet. I'm just going to read his tweet because it was interesting. He says this: the Patriots likely would have done this contract. So they would have gave him, he's basically saying they would have gave him 2 years, $50 million, though Tom Brady never came to them with his desire to return. So there was no offer from New England. In the end, only the Bucs and the Chargers made offers. The Raiders sat it out as well, never offering Brady a deal. Rob, quickly, I know you got a lot to say on this. I'm just going to say this. This sounds like Patriots spin to me. This sounds like spin. First of all, there was the report that they offered him 1 year at a pay cut.
Right.
That was a few days ago. So that's number one. And, believe who you want. But there was a report about that already. I didn't see any denials from the Patriots on that. And they were getting criticized at times in certain quarters for that. And I just think secondly, why is it on Brady? Why is it on him to go to them and say, I want to be back? If you want the man, make him an offer. You made him that cheap offer, reportedly. If you want him, make him a better offer. If you would have given him 2 years, $50 million, you could have done it last year coming off the Super Bowl #1. And you could have just done it, in the last several days or so. So I think, look, the Patriots have been getting criticized up in Boston. Fans aren't happy. They think not only did you throw away, if there were any remnants or remainder of this dynasty, you gave it all up. And fans are upset. So I think, Rob, the Patriots are putting out spin. That's how I look at this.
I don't disagree. And I'm with you. It's not up for Tom Brady. When they told him, Chris, and you know this, to go out and check the market. What market is there to check?
Right.
If you really want somebody, I don't care what other people are talking about. All they had to do, call a meeting with him and his agent. What is it going to take to keep you in a Patriots uniform for your entire career? That's what we want to get done here and make it out. I don't believe for 1 second Bill Belichick would have been cool with signing Tom Brady to a 2-year guaranteed contract. I don't believe that. Not for 1 second. Oh, had he come back, we would have matched that. You believe that, Chris?
No, I don't.
I don't believe
think you're
that.
right. I agree with you on this.
And Tampa Bay, no matter what talent they have on that roster, because they haven't made the playoffs in 12 years, they had to pay the bad team tax. You know what that is?
Yep.
You had to tack on an extra year for an aging quarterback. Am I right? They had to.
No, you're right. And I said it, Rob. Look, obviously I'm a Brady supporter and I believe in him, but I get it. He's going to be 43. I understand why a team would want it to be year to year, right? And like you said, a Tampa Bay couldn't afford that luxury. The Chargers, they just had to give him the 2 years to get him there.
Right, and Tampa Bay, you think they could play hardball with Tom Brady? Oh, no, we're not doing 2 years. 1 year and that's it. Really?
Yep. Right.
And I got to wear this ugly uniform?
Him as their starting quarterback today, that's for sure.
Right. I mean, seriously. So they already knew that they had to do what they had to do. This a notion, or the Patriots trying to clean it up, spin it, let people know, oh, no, we wanted Tom. Tom made this decision. I told you, Chris, the day they told him to go check the market was the last day that Tom Brady was going to be there. Because you don't do that to people who you really like or you really want, to stick around. You don't tell people to go check the market and come back with an offer. Very seldom do people come back.
Do you think that there's any remorse or second guessing of themselves on the Patriots' part?
I don't think so. I think they knew what they were doing the whole time. I don't believe so. They just don't want to get all the brunt of it. You know what I mean? It's still to part from a guy like that who a lot of people love and consider this great quarterback. You're going to get criticism, so as you soften the blow. We saw Bob Kraft doing the media tour. I think anybody with 2 strings in a can in their basement, he would have.
He was
done
calling people. He called our boy Stephen A.
You know what I mean, right? This is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. And he kind of said the same thing. He told Stephen A. said that Tom didn't want to come back. Right? That's what he told. And I think, Rob, look, the more I think about it, the more I think, look, he doesn't have Belichick. Belichick is a great coach. Fantastic, phenomenal coach. We get it. Arians isn't bad, though. Arians a good coach. And the bottom line is he's got a ton more weapons. So he doesn't have to go through. I know he's got a tough road to hoe in the NFC, but you don't have to go through Pat Mahomes. You don't have to go through Lamar Jackson. So, in some ways, he might be in a better situation. But I do think, Rob, had Tom Brady had his druthers, he would still be in a Patriots uniform. You agree with that?
If he could have everything
if they
that he
gave
wanted,
him the respect, and some money.
I believe that because it's something special. I always say this. You could talk about people. Derek Jeter wore the Yankee uniform for 20 years.
Yep.
He was a Yankee. You didn't see him playing for the Marlins or some terrible franchise. Do you know what I mean? In his last 2 years. He was only in that uniform, and that's something special.
Nah, no question. All right, your turn to weigh in. 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. Do you believe that the New England Patriots never even offered Tom Brady a chance to return? We will continue the conversation with you next. It's the Odd Couple, Chris and Rob.
Bill in New Hampshire, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Bill?
Evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing great.
Hope everybody's safe from the virus and everything.
Yes.
Let's talk about Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not want to be in New England anymore. I can tell you that right away. At the end of the Super Bowl, he did not sign that contract extension.
You say that like you're his next door neighbor. How do you know that?
Give us some. Go ahead.
Well, I've lived here. I'm a longtime Patriots fan, and I'm not a pink hat. These folks up here, some of them want to think that he wanted to be here. Some of them think he didn't want to be here. All you have to do is follow the math and money. He went into a press conference last year at 8-0, sat down and said he was the most frustrated 8-0 quarterback that ever walked the face of the planet. He didn't want to be here at that point. They had gotten rid of Antonio Brown. They had gotten rid of Josh Gordon. They had limited weapons around him on offense. When they went into the offseason and he wasn't allowed to be franchise tagged and he allowed that to be in the contract, that was the signal that no matter what it was, he was going somewhere else. It didn't really matter.
Well, look, I agree with you that under the circumstance, and I think this is what you may be saying, because they didn't have weapons and didn't go out and get them. He saw Stephon Diggs go elsewhere. He saw DeAndre Hopkins go elsewhere. Maybe they could have been had. And on top of that, they wouldn't give him a 2-year deal at the money he wanted. Yeah, I think because of those things, he wanted out. But I think ultimately, all things being equal, I think would have rather have stayed in New England.
Yeah, I just think he would have rather, if it would have been under his terms and circumstance. He won one time over Bill Belichick when he had Garoppolo sent out of town,
Right.
Chris. But then after that, I think that something happened there, and Bill was able to get back power, and Bob Kraft to go, oh, okay. And I think
the age probably factored into that a little bit, Rob.
And I don't think the Patriots really wanted him back, Chris. I just. If they really wanted him, they could have just – it's not the matter of the money you're talking about is really – say if they gave him, just say they guaranteed him what the Bucs gave him, $25 million, and then they just had to pay an extra $25 million. The Patriots have made so much money, merchandise, all the other – all the other stuff. It could have been a parting gift, to be honest, to just say this guy was only a New England Patriot. He was ours. He was ours, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and I don't think they're any better off for it. It's not like like I said, most of these cases, Rob, Peyton Manning's gone. Okay, we got Andrew Luck. Brett Favre's gone, we got Aaron Rodgers. Joe Montana's gone, we got Steve Young. Most of these cases, those teams could keep rolling. That's not going. I think the Patriots are going to show it quickly that how much they miss Tom Brady.
Yeah, he thinks. Yeah, well, I mean, the team. Even last year, we talked about it. The team wasn't that good, Chris. Despite 12-4, it really wasn't when you looked at the roster on paper. So unless they do a major overhaul, I know people think, everything was rolling and they were great. And you remember the defense? Remember the defense was so good at the beginning of the year, it was like historical. Remember they had only given up. They had scored more. The defense had scored more touchdowns than allowed touchdowns.
And you and I knew, which we were baffled at people questioning would they go 16-0. They hadn't really played anybody yet. I think they beat Buffalo, I believe, in that stretch.
And they beat Buffalo
they beat Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger.
If you remember, they beat Buffalo like 12-10 or something. Like you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like some blowout like they were doing the rest of the league. So
look, they were good. I think they were better than you do. I mean, they ended up 12-4, so that's nothing to sneeze at. But they weren't the juggernaut that a lot of people thought they were initially. All right, will Tom Brady be able to lead the Buccaneers back to the playoffs for the first time in over a decade? FS1 NFL analyst Eric Mangini has the answer next. Eric, welcome to the Odd Couple, brother. How are you?
Yo.
Good. How you guys doing?
We are
hanging in
great,
there, buddy.
Let's just start here.
Hold on. How are you and the family?
Family's good, considering everything that's happening.
Right.
Fortunately, in Ohio, we have a little bit of space, so we're not all on top of each other. But I think like everybody else, we're adjusting to this new reality.
Well, your governor was one of the first to kind of shut stuff down, right?
About the games, right?
He's taken a real leadership position, which is comforting and I think a really good thing.
Yeah, he's done a good job. I think he set a tone that a lot are following.
Because I think the NCAA, you remember, he told those basketball teams, you're not playing here.
Yep.
There will be no regionals in Ohio. And I think you're right. He took a leadership role, and it was good for Ohio. But go ahead, Chris.
All right, let's start here. You know Tom Brady better than most, certainly. How surprised were you? I know there were reports and there was talk, and a lot of people thought he was headed out of New England. How surprised were you, though, that it actually happened?
Well, I guess I'm a little disappointed that it happened, more so than surprised. I think at the end of the day, the best thing would have been for him to stay. I think it would have been the best thing for him. It would have been the best thing for the Patriots, especially considering the environment that we're in right now, where there's no telling how much time he's going to have to work with his new teammates in Tampa, and the same thing in New England, how much time those guys are going to have to work with whoever becomes a quarterback. So if he had stayed, they had the most continuity, and you could move right back into a season, especially if it ends up being a much shortened preseason. Now there's a lot to learn on both sides, and I think that puts them both at a competitive disadvantage.
Eric, I got the sense that the Patriots didn't want him. That was just by the way that they told him to basically go out and take a look around and see what your value is on the free market. If they really wanted him, you could haggle over some millions. The guy's been there 20 years. A player like that you would probably want in your franchise. And I brought it up a little earlier, like Derek Jeter played all 20 years in a Yankee uniform. He didn't go finish up in some second-rate town, and I'm not ripping Tampa, but I mean in general. Did they want him? Did they want him, or was this Tom Brady basically deciding he wanted to break away from New England?
It's hard to say exactly how that went down. I'm sure, from New England's perspective, they didn't think that he would leave, and I didn't really think he'd leave at the end of the day either. I thought it was more a function of, okay, go set your market, see what it is, come back. We probably won't pay you what your market value is, but we'll come up a lot from where we are, and that's the way they do business in New England. And look, you can't be happy with Bill Belichick being hard and taking those very unemotional views on veteran players and all the success it brings, and then be surprised when it happens to you. And that looked like the trajectory that it was going on. And I expected at the end of the day, Tom would get a raise. It wouldn't be what he wanted, but it would give him opportunity to finish out there. And I would imagine that maybe New England miscalculated in thinking that he would leave. And oftentimes that is the case when you negotiate. You guess as to how far you can push it, and sometimes you push it too far, and it ends up in a breakup.
Eric, obviously, I think this great run, the best we've seen over 20 years in the NFL, is coming to an end. Who would you say is? I know. Look, they're both great. Brady's the GOAT. Most say Belichick's the GOAT as far as coaches. Who do you think, though, of the two is most responsible? Most responsible, even if it's 51-49, but most responsible for this dynasty?
Well, look, if you just view it from results pre-Brady Belichick marriage, Bill had one winning season as a head coach in 6 years without Tom as a starter, and you'd be hard pressed to have to keep coaching with that track record. And then even in our second year, we weren't winning, and then Drew gets hurt, Tom comes in, we start turning things around.
Thank you for saying that, Eric, because I've been pointing that out to people left and right.
But hold on. That being said, Bill hung with Tom Brady, and we kept 4 quarterbacks that first year. Tom Brady was not Tom Brady when he got to New England.
Well, of course he wasn't, Rob.
He wasn't even close. But he had traits, he had characteristics, he had things that organizationally we believed in, that Bill believed in, and Bill developed it. And then it became one of those relationships where they both complemented each other. Bill built a team that supported not just Tom Brady, but supported a ability to compete for a championship every year. You see great quarterbacks around the NFL that have won Super Bowl championship. And you look at those guys, and they've had great careers, and you say, have they underachieved? Are they really where they should be? Where would those great quarterbacks, where would Drew Brees be if he had been the quarterback with Bill Belichick all those years? Or Peyton Manning? Would we be talking differently?
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. So there's a synergy there. Now, to Tom's credit and to Bill's credit, both these guys had these traits of no matter how much success, money, and fame, at the end of the day, their work ethic was unchanged. Their approach was unchanged. There was a humbleness to the way that they did things, regardless of how much winning took place. And that's a really hard thing to do in sports. We spend so much time teaching guys how to deal with adversity. It's really hard to learn how to deal with success. And you saw that, most recently with the Philadelphia Eagles. Success is like a martini. It relaxes you. But that was never the case with those two, and they complemented each other that way.
Hey, Eric, and there's a number of quarterbacks who are, who's going to be Tom Brady's replacement. Is Cam Newton a candidate? Is it, or the Patriots just going to draft somebody, keep who they already have, or are they going to go get a veteran quarterback as a stopgap until they develop their guy to be the next guy?
I would imagine they'll get multiple options, and I don't think Cam is one of those options. That he doesn't seem like a fit to me in that environment. Okay. I think Andy Dalton is a really interesting candidate. Maybe it's a combination of veteran. You go draft one, you got Stidham. Although with him, he's got 2 completions, 1 interception in his pro career. That's pretty hard to get your head around that he's going to replace Tom. But you're going to have to take a leap of faith at some point. Maybe it's a guy like Josh Rosen that comes in as well. The one thing it'll probably be some sort of undervalued asset that somebody else has thrown away that New England will take in and develop in a different type of way, and we'll be looking back at it and go, God, I never thought that would work.
Eric, we all know Tom Brady is a great leader. We see it on the field, but when you look at him, sometimes he comes off as kind of corny. And you
Oh,
wonder,
shucks,
you
gee
don't,
whiz.
yeah, like it's not obvious how he can captivate a locker room and become this great leader of men. First of all, tell us how he does that, what it is about him that makes him such a great leader in the locker room, and do you think he'll immediately or soon change the culture in Tampa Bay?
Well, one of the things that stands out to me about his personality is he's not trying to be anybody different in the locker room than who he is. And you hear free agents talk about all the time how they go into the locker room and Tom comes over and introduces himself and says, "Hi, I'm Tom Brady." And of course, everybody knows who he is, but that's how he always has been. I thought one of the most interesting things, we see all these young quarterbacks that do a million commercials and try to get every last dollar they can get. And look, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. You want to go and maximize your earning potential. But when Tom got his first television commercial, he wouldn't do it unless they put the offensive lineman in with him so that they could get paid also. And that, to me, is indicative of why people want to follow him. And there is something to be said for that consistent work ethic. He's married to a supermodel. He's got fame. He's got money. He's got all these things. But he shows up and that gee whiz, that humbleness, it's sincere. It's not putting on airs, and I think people respect that, and they want to be part of that sincerity, and they want to work at the way that he works, the level he works.
This is me. I think Tom Brady will wind up like Michael Jordan, who left the Bulls and all the success he had and wound up going to Washington to play for the Wizards in that ugly uniform and wound up never even making the playoffs. And it was, despite him playing pretty well, it didn't work out in D.C. I think the same will happen for Tom Brady. You think I'm crazy, Meshuggah, or you think Tom Brady's going to change the world in Tampa Bay?
Well, Chris asked an interesting question about changing the culture. And I think one of the difficult things about changing the culture is as much as you want a guy to come into a locker room and all the great things that he's done somewhere else immediately be a catalyst in your building, those guys are still guys, and they want to fit into the locker room. They want to belong. So you don't quite get that same pop that you're hoping for. Now, that being said, I think his work ethic, I think his approach, I think his cachet, all that stuff will have positive benefits in Tampa. And maybe this is like a Peyton Manning type thing where they win, but it's not just because of Tom. It's because of the things that Tom helped enforce or reinforce or build or add to. Peyton Manning wasn't great the year they won the Super Bowl, but you can't deny that his impact was significant in Denver.
Eric, we got to go, but quick answer. Do the Buccaneers make the playoffs next year? There's an extra team, remember, in each conference.
Look, they went 7-9, and they had to overcome a lot of self-inflicted wounds. So if you just eliminate 70% of those mistakes, okay, which I don't think is unreasonable with Tom being playing quarterback, you can easily go from 7-9 to 10-6 or 11-5. So yeah, I'll say that. Especially in that division where there's uncertainty as well, I like their chances, and I like their chances with Tom.
All right.
No way, no how. You're the same guy who said the Browns were going to the Super Bowl last year. Eric, I'm not buying your take.
First of all, Rob, if you're not buying my take, that reinforces that I'm right. So thank you. Thank you for confirming my convictions.
Yes. Hey, stay safe. You and the family.
You happen to second everything I said, too. So it's on point. This is all on point.
You should be very worried.
That's why it's called The Odd Couple.
You should be very worried.
Right. Eric,
Rob
be
is
safe
wrong
out
and Chris
there,
is
man.
right.
Take care of the family, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Thanks.